Instagram Live, the wonders of technology. We're right now, Instagram is pinging all of my followers out there to let them know that I'm going live, which is exactly what we're doing now. And while we're waiting for the followers to go in, I'm gonna kind of cruise into the garage here and talk a little bit about this motorcycle. You can see it's got the battery tender going on it. It doesn't have its boxes, the Jessie bags that are so iconic with that bike. But it's waiting for a good ride, and that's actually something I'm looking forward to. Maybe even this weekend, I'm gonna go for a little ride and see exactly. Feel the wind in my face again, and to feel the rhythm of the curves in the road. But anyway, that's kind of like Doc Jr. I call it the surrogate Doc. This thing right here. It's a nice motorcycle. It's not the original. It doesn't have I do have the bags for it, but they're not on there now. But anyway, it's Wednesday, and let's see. We got some people coming in. Oh, excellent. Scally's in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm in my kind of backyard, side yard, and the reason that I'm it's Wednesday. It's time for another one of these what I call Patio Stories with Allan, and it's a time where we can sit down, have a glass of wine, and I tell some stories from somewhere all over the world that I've been. But right now I'm not all over the world. I'm right here in my backyard. And the thing that I'm going to, and I want to see if you can see this down here. Do you see this right here? These holes? Okay, they're not gophers. I've got a real problem out here with voles, V-O-L-E-S. They're like a blind mouse. And they dig tunnels, and I have to be careful because I've walked out here before, and I've fallen. The whole soil just collapsed around my foot. It's a good way to possibly twist an ankle. Fortunately, that hasn't happened. But anyway, so you can see these holes. They're all over here. The cats love these things because they just sit there and hover over the holes until they can finally maybe grab one of those little critters. And there's been at least, I've seen 24 in my house over the years, probably 36. But as I navigate some of the vole holes, as we're going to call them, it's a little rougher terrain up here. What I'm really coming to is this. You see this? This is a rose. And you know what? You see this plant? It's the only rose that is hanging out here. And I see this rose, this plant, from the window of my bedroom. And when I wake up in the morning, I look out, and it's still hanging in there. And I thought to myself, as I was doing my vigorous walk today, getting in some of my socially distanced exercise, I thought about this rose. And I thought how much it represents me, really what we all are doing, but always need to be reminded that we're doing. And that is to hang on. And to have resilience, and to basically, uncover our inner resolve, our ability to take difficult situations and turn them around, and turn problems into opportunities, turn sadness into smiles, and to definitely open your perspective to look at things differently. This rose looks at me every day, and I look at it. And it's very fragrant, and its resilience, it's got those thorns that kind of protects it. But out of that whole bush, and this has been here for over a month, this single rose with the resilience and the resolve to hang on. Something we all need to do right now is hang on. So anyway, while I get all philosophical and emotional about the single soul rose and its resolve, let's get to the patio stories, because that's really what these little Instagram live things that I've been I've only done one of them, and it was such a whim. that it doesn't, that it can't hardly call it a series yet, but this is the second one. Oh, by the way, this is the Forks van. You see that? Yeah, that's the, when I did my book tour a couple years ago, this is an old Sprinter van. There's the famous photo of the llamas, okay? And there is the, there's the cover of the book. And if we go around the side, a little tour of the Forks van for those of you who haven't seen it. There I am with a camel and my motorcycle out there in Giza at the pyramids, of course. Very cool. But Patio Stories. Patio Stories. That's what we're doing here. And I just wanted to kind of share that rose with you because I think it's a important symbol for so many things. But here we're back. We're on the patio. And I think I talked last time about, since I'm not going to be traveling, I thought I'd tend to a little bit of gardening, a little bit of, mostly culinary herbs with a few veggies. I've got some cucumber down here. They're Persian cucumbers here. And then I've got some cherry tomatoes. I got some celebrity tomatoes. And I got these, what they call the Great Bing tomatoes. Mint, parsley, cilantro, oregano, 2 different kinds of thyme. Of course, we've got the... Okay, I'm going to have to set this thing down here, and hopefully we can get this framed right. Yeah. Okay, how's that? Now we're back at the patio. You can see I've got a cheese plate that I've set up, a little bit of Serrano ham and some cut apple, and whatever else here. Oh, well, the most important thing, and that is the vino. Vino is always par. Okay, we're gonna set this thing up here. We're gonna go with a dual camera thing. See how this works. Okay, so anyway, patio. This is funny. Patio Stories starts out tonight with the 2017 Saddleback Cellars Napa Valley Chardonnay. It's not a super oaky, over malolactically fermented Chardonnay. It's got some good acidity and balance, and it's made by Nils Vengay, or at least I think Nils still makes the wine. He and his son, I guess, own the Saddleback Cellars in Napa. But here's to Wednesday evening with you, wherever you might be. And thanks for tuning in on the live. Stories today. So I have a couple stories, but coming back to the flower, the lone rose that we looked at. As a writer, when I go on my walks, it's hard not to just observe. It's hard not to just take in, to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, the unique in the normal, or simply the wild in what may be the tame. And that's the cool thing about is trying to find adventure in something in your backyard. So today, as I was walking, I go past, and I do this all the time, and like on a motorcycle, one of the great things of being on a motorcycle is, of course, feeling all the elements. That is, the heat, the wind, the temperature, like that, like I said, the heat, and but the most things that you never get when you're in a car, and that is the smell of the surroundings. And as I walked by this, it must have been about 30, 40 meters of these star jasmine flowers. And even though I'm socially distanced, no, not really, but I'm about 6 feet as I'm walking past them, I get this rush of beautiful jasmine fragrance, or beautiful. And as I cruise down, you start seeing the normal things you see in the neighborhood. You see things like the UPS guy, who I see here often, wave to him. You see people that walk, you become regulars. Now, everybody has the buds in anymore these days. So, even if you say hi, they can't hear you. Everybody's listening to something. I have no idea what they're listening to. I'm listening to the sounds of the area, and occasionally I will put some buds in. And then I walked down past a park, and the park is open, but there's a lot of signage the city of Encinitas, where I am, has put up here. And, there's a basketball court, there's a volleyball net. Everybody's got to be either from the same household or you're solo playing. Now, it's kind of hard to play volleyball solo, but at least you can shoot some hoops by yourself. And there was a guy there, and I noticed, first I didn't notice him, but there was a motorcycle. It was a KTM, small, like maybe 390, maybe it's the 4, whatever it is. I'm a BMW guy, so I don't know the KTM models, but his helmet was sitting on the sidewalk, and I thought for a second, well, where is that guy? There's a little skateboard bowl right near there as well, and there were 3 or 4 kids in there, but they all looked to be a little young to be in riding a KTM motorcycle. And then I noticed one guy shooting hoops. And then I looked, okay, the bike is close in proximity to him. Anyway, winding my way back, it's about a 2-mile loop, so it's not very long. It's, I can do this thing in 30 minutes or so. And I cruise by, and there's a garage open. One of my neighbors down in the lower part of the street here. Hear those birds? That's what I'm talking about, the sounds. Wow. Wonder what they're yakking at. Anyway, I walked by this house, and I gotta tell you, it's hilarious. I look in, there's a car parked in the garage. It's pretty crammed in, and what do I see? It must be about 60 rolls of toilet paper. I'm not kidding. Bulk bags, like big Costco size. There's like 3 of these things kind of stacked on each other. That's the only thing I really noticed. I couldn't even tell you the name of the car in the garage. I just saw it, and I was glommed on to the toilet paper, and I thought to myself every time I went looking, how come there was never any on the shelves? I mean, are you guys still having issues with toilet paper? Today, I ran out of something that I haven't heard much about. Dental floss. I know, that feeling when you pull out the last bit, it's like that. It's just like, I can't even get it in there. So now I'm out of dental floss. I mean, is there going to be a big run on this? I really don't know. But that's a little bit of my walk today. And then, of course, that feeling. It's probably not as bad of a feeling of looking at a, toilet paper dispenser and taking off the last sheet. And that may be a little more stressful for some people than pulling out a small piece of dental floss. Anyway, let's see how this wine is. Yeah, there's, even a hint of minerality, but, you do have that core, a little bit of honeysuckle, and a little bit of melon, too. It's nice. Yeah. Not a lot of wood, but you definitely get some, fruit. It's got a long finish, and it's not expensive. Anyway, 2017 Saddleback. So here's the story I'm going to tell before we wind down. And I see we've got. I'll put on the specs here so I can see who's on here. Carolina, nice to join you, and Melofama, nice. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, I can wave back. There's these little nice buttons here. I can wave back. Anyway, you guys may have come in a little late after I was talking about this soul resilient rose that I look out of my bedroom window every day on the other side of my house. We did a walk around. But anyway, you all know I traveled around the world. I did a 3-year trip around the world on that motorcycle. And in the middle of it, in the high plain of Bolivia, the Altiplano as it's called, muy arriba, alto, I had an accident. My bike slipped in the mud. I fell off of it. My bike, which weighs about 400 pounds, and I'm carrying about 100 or so pounds of everything I own, crashes down on top of me, crushes my leg. I've got to takes 3 days to get out of Bolivia to be medevaced back to Orange County, California, where I was living at the time in Newport Beach. And then it took another 6 months or so to recover and recoup and get my strength back in the leg, but also, well, it didn't happen that easily. My confidence back, especially on going back, I had to leave the motorcycle in Bolivia, in a place called San Luis Potosí. It's the highest city in the world. In fact, it had an airport there at the time. But in fact, when I broke my leg, and it was about, it was about a 10-hour ride from, my landlord's out watering the bougainvilleas. He's wearing a little Hawaiian shirt. Anyway, so, new distractions, always things happening here on Allan's patio. This city is the highest city in the world. It had a new airport it had been built about a year and a half before. except it had never been opened. Why? Well, because people in Potosi, once the world's richest city in the world, now is one of the most poor, and they can't afford airline tickets. Secondly, it's the highest city in the world, sitting at something like 14,000 feet high in the Andes. It's so high that it's very dangerous and difficult to fly airplanes in and out of. So the airport had never been opened. Well, somehow my medevac insurance company eventually convinces a pilot out of La Paz to come retrieve me. But it takes him 3 attempts because of the clouds just sucking into this little town, this little city. But anyway, I eventually returned to Bolivia. My motorcycle was there. I had managed to, through the internet, find somebody to go ahead and collect it and store it. And when I went back, I got it all ready to go again. And I met a buddy who met me back in a place called Sucre, Bolivia. It's actually the capital of the country. It's an old colonial. Sucre is sugar, of course. That's the Spanish word. And it's a beautiful city. And from there, the idea was that before going back on this dirt road, because I was on my way to a place in the Andes called the Salar de Uyuni. It is the largest salt flat in the world at about 4,000 square miles. It's roughly the size of the state of Delaware here in the United States, or about the size of the entire county of Los Angeles. Huge, basically. But I didn't want to ride that road again where I broke my leg. That's the only way to get there. So I said, let's warm up on a good road. And we decided to take the major road from the capital of the country to a place called Santa Cruz de la Sierra. It's the richest, it's the financial capital of Bolivia. Well, that road sucked. And in fact, the very first day, within about 4 hours, in a river crossing, there's no bridges, you got to go into the river, I crashed. And to make matters worse, it took us a few days, even though it was only about 300 miles to get to this city. It was just such a crap road that we could not really go much more than 20 or 30, and we, of course, had to battle all the big trucks. Well, I want to get to the point of this crazy thing. So we finally get to this town, Santa Cruz, and the full name Santa Cruz de la Sierra. And it's in the Amazon basin, so it's a lot more tropical than, say, where I'm going, to the Altiplano and the Salt Flat. But there, we regroup. I had a couple little issues with my motorcycle that we fixed. Not a problem. But then we decide to take off, okay? So it's ready to go. We're going to go and head. It's going to take us a week to get to the Salar de Uyuni. And Jeremiah and I get on our motorcycles and we get out of town. And just outside of the city, there is another river. It's a dry river, and there is a bridge. And it's a narrow bridge, only one lane. And there are railroad tracks running down the middle of it. And let me tell you, this bridge is dilapidated. The wood planks are missing in some places, and they're just wide enough for a motorcycle tire to slip through. And then there are nails. The heads of nails need to be hammered down, but they're jutting up everywhere, and it's just rotting. And so finally, anyway, the traffic coming this way clears, and I've scooted like we motorcycles can get up. There's a huge line of cars behind me. Me and Jeremiah are at the front, and somebody honks the horn and waves his hand and says, "You go first." So I've got 3 choices to go down this bridge. There are railroad tracks in the middle, so I can go between the tracks, to the right of the tracks, to the left of the tracks, where the boards or the surface of the bridge look the best was, of course, down the middle of the tracks. Well, I get on the tracks and I'm cruising along, and there's these gusty crosswinds that are trying to push me into these gaping holes. And finally, I finally see towards the end of the bridge. I'm finally getting there, but all of a sudden it occurs to me that the railroad tracks go to the right and the road goes to the left, and I'm stuck in the middle. So at this point, I'm like, what do I do? So I got cars screaming behind me, so I jerk up on the handlebars, try to lift the bike up a little bit and cross that rail. Well, just then everything stops and goes in slow motion. My bike smashes down, me with it, drags me off the bridge, and slams me in the middle of the road. And let me tell you, I am dazed. I am confused. I am tweaking, and my leg is throbbing. After a few minutes, I try to get up, but I can't support my weight on my leg. That same leg, that leg I had broken like 6 months before. I just want to cry. Bolivia is beating the crap out of me, and I am stuck in the middle and just practically hallucinating. Well, long story dragged a little bit shorter. Crowds gather around, there's faces and everybody's looking around, and they're trying to help me get out of the road, to move the bike, because the engine's still running, by the way. And that's usually what I think about when I'm sitting there on the road. Before anybody even comes up to me, all I can think about is that time I crashed and broke my leg in the mud 6 months before, and now with my leg throbbing, my motorcycle tire spinning and the engine running, about how I finally just meet the end of the road. I want to quit. I want to cry. I want to say it's done, okay? All right, I didn't get around the world. But I know that's not the case. Well, Jeremiah shows up. Next thing I know, there's these good Samaritans, guys who actually ride motorcycles. They're willing to give me a ride back. One of their guys decides he'll ride it. And then when they finally get it up, they realize in that accident on the bridge and slamming on the road that my clutch lever broke. Can you believe this? So, and there's not enough to grab. And I'm like, okay, if you can ride that thing without a clutch, amen to you. And he manages to get it to Santa Cruz, which is about 40 miles away. And I go to a clinic, and fortunately, it's just a really bad sprain, and I've got to now stick behind for about 3 weeks before I'm able to actually get back on that bike again. It's my left foot. It's the foot that you have to flick that shifter lever. And it's not so bad going down, but only one gear is down, and that's first, unless you happen to be in fifth, and you can downshift. So getting upshifting is very painful because I can't move that ankle. So I stay behind, but meanwhile, I also have to get the bike fixed. So coordinating all that, I finally find this wacky guy. I mean, he has a cell phone in his hand when I meet him, 2 other phones on his desk with cords. Remember corded phones? These are corded phones. And he's picking them up, and he's got the cell phone here, and he's going back and forth, and he's talking a mile a minute. He's got a pile of coca leaves in the middle of his desk, which is just strewn away with stuff. There's all photographs, black and whites and colors, hanging all over, and tilted back frames and things like that. And they're all of rally cars, like racing cars. Rally. And when we finally sit down and talk, I learned that this guy's like a 2-time world champion for Bolivia, rally car champion. And he owns this repair shop, mostly for cars, but he's going to fix and get my clutch lever on. And when we walk out to there, and by the way, I'm on crutches at this point. I hobble out to my bike, and his mechanic guy is got this puzzled look on his face, and he realizes that I'm carrying. One of the things you do in a round the world trip is you try to anticipate what parts you might need if you are stuck in the middle of the nowhere that you must have in order to get out. And not a lot, but a clutch lever is one of them, as is a clutch cable. So, however, the clutch cable that I had ordered from the BMW dealer back in California months before doesn't fit. It's the wrong one. So now I'm screwed. Not only do I have a sprained ankle, I don't have a clutch lever. There's not a BMW dealer in Bolivia, and the nearest one that possibly could get it is in Colombia, and that's probably not a good idea. So we coordinate to get the dealer, which is now out of business, interestingly enough, who had given me that wrong, to ship in a clutch cable and put that on. That's all to say. But when we're in his office and he's eating those cocaine or coca leaves, it's not cocaine, and it's a whole different thing. They eat that stuff, because it cures altitude sickness. Though here we are in the Amazon basin, it's just a stimulant. But there's this white little powder that actually does look like a cocaine that they use to rub on their gums to activate the coca leaves, and that's how you actually activate it. And I'm thinking, I didn't know this at the time, and I'm thinking this guy is Jitson Jonesing on blow, but no, it's not true at all. It's just an activator. But we got that bike going, and the clutch lever came in, and I was able to eventually get on the bike and get back and make it to the road to the Slar without breaking my leg another time. It took a long time for that ankle to heal. But if you fast forward to my trip last summer, 2018 summer, I was in Croatia in a place called Stone, Ston. Mali Stone was there's Little Stone and then there's Stone. So I was in Stone, which is an old. It's actually one of the largest fortresses, and it's in great shape. A walled fortress in Croatia. It's about a couple hours, if that, from Dubrovnik, which is famous because of all the Game of Thrones and all that. But this is a little town, and I stopped in to go look at the fortress. And when I got back on that motorcycle and I started it up and grabbed the clutch and shifted into gear, I heard this snap. My clutch broke. The clutch cable broke. So, interestingly though, that clutch handle is the same handle on there. But I won't go into the whole story about how I had to get that clutch cable replaced, because it was something that I had once, the spare part, but had used it. And there I was stuck in Croatia without a clutch cable. So you'll have to tune in again for one of these patio stories here with Allan Karl. And, if you guys have some questions, I can take a few here now, or shoot me a message on Facebook or here, because I'm going to do one of these patio stories, and maybe I won't do it live, but I'm going to take random questions. I'm going to try to maybe get from people that know me or don't know me and want to know more about me, my trips, about places I've been, or motorcycle, whatever kinds of questions, anything. Ask anything. It's kind of like on Reddit, AMA, right? Ask me anything. So if you have any questions, shoot them off. Anybody here? Nobody's got any questions, but if you do, send them to me. And in a future Patio Stories, I'm going to go ahead and just go through 15 or 20 questions from all the viewers, followers out there. But I hope you guys. I've been talking so much that I haven't had any of my honey crisp apple. This is like white wine. You got the mallow acid in the apple, and you got the lactic acid in the cheese. And then and a little salt and fat in the Serrano ham. People like to serve their white wine so darn cold that it masks the flavor. I took it right out of the fridge before we started this today. And my first sip when we started sitting down on the patio here didn't have too much aromatics. I mean, I'm getting a lot more of that honeysuckle now, and certainly the tropical fruits are coming in. Lovely wine. Let your wine, little cooler than room temperature or ambient temperature as it is on the patio, and you'll enjoy that white wine so much better. Hey, thanks for tuning in on Patio Stories here on World Rider's Instagram channel. Hey, if you haven't been over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/worldrider, just like it is on Instagram, some really great content, including interviews I'm doing with my new Journeys webcast that is live every Monday. And I've got next Monday Ashley Colburn, an Emmy Award-winning travel hostess for a television show called Take Off, but she's doing so much more stuff now. She actually lives in Croatia. We'll learn about what's going on in Croatia, and it'll be great because I've done 5 of these webcasts, and they've all been guys. Most of them adventure kind of guys. It's kind of nice now. I'll be able to sit down and have a conversation with a woman for Journeys webcast. So tune in there, register.journeyswebcast.com, and you'll enjoy that. But the replays of the live streams are on that YouTube channel, as well as, like I mentioned last time, there's a great video of my film crew when we were doing our TV show in Iceland, how they got busted by the cops. It's a funny and it's a good ending. So check out that at youtube.com World Rider. And thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you maybe next Wednesday or whenever for the next episode of Patio Stories.